saw the thumbnail. It looks bleak. The Mariners are coming off the worst road trip of the year, going 3-6 against the Miami Marlins, the Cleveland Guardians, and the Tampa Bay Rays. And you know what? As of right now, the Mariners need to go out there and make a trade. They need to go out there and get some big bats for this lineup because this lineup sucks right now. But in this video, I'm going to tell you why even if they do go out and get those big bats, it doesn't matter. Because there's one key thing the Mariners need to do to really make sure this season can be a success. Hey, I'll admit it. Usually I'm positive. Usually I am the positive Pete of the Seattle Mariners. I'm always like, yeah, you know what? They're going to get it figured out. They're going to turn it around. But after what we just watched against the Marlins and against the Rays, I mean, the Guardians, decent baseball team. I get it. What we just watched from this baseball team was unacceptable. And adding a guy, like let's say they go out there and add Luis Robert Jr. Great. That helps the middle of this lineup. It doesn't fix the problem. And the problem is the Mariners core guys are hitting like crap. Barring like 10 trades where the Mariners go get Vladdy, Bo Bichette, Luis Robert, and Pete Alonso, they just go get all four big guys. This team isn't going to go much further without these guys getting going in Julio Rodriguez, Jorge Polanco, Mitch Garver. Those three guys specifically. Obviously, Garver's been better recently, but those guys are what's bringing the team down right now. Starting with Julio, who's running an 89 OPS plus with a slugging of 339. He's putting up the worst numbers of his career, full stop. Julio has been terrible. His exit velocity is down. He's not hitting the ball as hard. He's striking out more than ever, and he's not walking nearly as much as he has in the past. Julio Rodriguez has to be better if the Mariners want to continue winning. Now again, Mitch Garver has heated up lately, and he's got his OPS plus up to 94, but he's still hitting 176, 297, 367 on the year. A slugging of 367 just isn't going to cut it out of your DH spot. And on the year, he's striking out at a 30% clip, easily the highest of his career in a full season. It's just not acceptable for a guy that you signed to be your DH to be this bad. And Jorge Polanco, the guy that was supposed to be the savior at second base, is hitting 192, 286, 293 for his slugging percentage compared to a career 438 with a 71 OPS plus. Polanco is leading the team in strikeout percentage at 31.8%. He's only hitting the ball at 85 miles an hour, a clear-cut difference from his 87 miles an hour on his career, and he's just not hitting the ball as hard as he has in the past. So let's say the Mariners go out there and add Luis Robert and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. just for fun. Does that help? Absolutely. And there are plenty of ways where adding those guys just fixes the guys that are having issues right now because it's not all on them at that point. When all of a sudden you add Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Luis Robert, which I don't think is going to happen, by the way, guys. I don't think the Mariners are going to go out there and go that big because I don't know if anybody can go that big at this trade deadline. If they go out there and do that, maybe someone like Julio's like, okay, it's not all on me anymore. I'm gonna just kind of relax. That would of course be the goal. But if these guys, Julio, Garver, Polanco, if they keep hitting how they currently are, Mitch Haniger, for example, or I mean Dominic Canzone and Luke Raley have been the only consistent hitters on this team recently. And I think that Josh Rojas has certainly cooled off. We've seen Dylan Moore cool off. JP's been bad. He's another one I should have mentioned as well. Having a terrible year so far, JP Crawford is. Really needs to get it going for the front end of this team. Adding those guys to this team in Luis Robert and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. If the Mariners' current hitters continue on that trajectory, it doesn't matter. Yes, it helps, but the team is still bad. The offense is still bad if the core guys can't get it going. And honestly, if you want my opinion, I think they will. I still think that Julio in the second half is going to figure it out. He's going to have a great month of August like he always does. He's going to pop off. I think JP will get it going as well. I'm not overly worried, especially for a team that's currently, at the time of recording this, 8 games over 500 in first place in their division. I'm simply saying that if the Mariners really want to make a run at this thing in 2024, they need to get the core guys going because the core guys are the fuel that make this team go, with the engine being the pitching staff because the pitching staff has been so good. Obviously, we had a hiccup start, in my opinion, from Bryce Miller. Brian Wu is now on the injured list, and Andres Munoz, at the time of recording this, has had 2 back-to-back really bad outings where he can't find the strike zone. So you know, maybe the engine needs some maintenance. Maybe they need to go in and visit some sort of auto repair shop. But as of right now, the pitching staff is still the key for the Seattle Mariners. With that being said, though, without good offense, pitching can only take you so far because, as everybody loves to preach during the offseason, you can't win a 0-0 game. Now, that's not to say that the Mariners shouldn't go out there and add some of these big-name guys. Obviously, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Luis Robert, Isaac Paredes, these guys would certainly help this team. I know everyone's like, well, when the Mariners trade for them, all of a sudden they're just going to be bad and striking out at career highs again. Maybe. I wish I could say that, like, that's not right. I wish I could say that, like, oh, that's just ignorant. But I mean, we're Mariners fans. We've seen it time and time again. So I'm just going to keep my mouth shut on that front. I think that they still need to go out there and make those trades for these guys. In my opinion, I think that we're going to have to wait until right around the All-Star break to really see any of those moves made. Because as I've been saying throughout the entirety of the trade season so far, the Mariners are a team that deserves to be added to. As we come off of one of the worst road trips in recent memory, it's so clear what the holes are on this team that it's just stupid to not go out there and add to those and fix those holes. The problem is, guys, that all of the teams, other than the White Sox, of course, because the White Sox suck, all of the teams that have the ability to trade certain players are so close to being in this thing because of the third wild card spot that they might not be willing to make trades yet. And obviously they're going to have to figure it out by July 30th when the trade deadline crosses. Teams are finally going to have to decide, are we in or are we out? But as of right now, there's just nobody to make trades with, barring a few very specific ones in like the Marlins or the White Sox or the Rockies. And when it comes to those teams, there's very few guys you want to go out there and get. Like, I think Brian De La Cruz is a good fit. Does he fix the offense on this team? No, he does not. Luis Robert obviously makes sense, and we heard that the White Sox have sent out scouts to a bunch of other teams, including the Mariners, 3 teams total in the Padres, the Dodgers, and the Mariners, to go scout their minor league system. But the White Sox also said that if they're going to trade Luis Robert, he has to start playing better. Otherwise, they're going to feel like they're selling low on him. This is something that I believe it was Ken Rosenthal that tweeted out, that if Luis Robert doesn't get it going, he probably won't get traded because they don't want to trade low on Luis Robert. And in all fairness to the White Sox, they could wait. They could trade him in the offseason. They still have him for a few more years. So if they really do want to wait and get the best package possible, if he's not playing well, they might wait until the offseason to trade Luis Robert. And for the Rockies, there's really nobody on that team that makes a lot of sense that would fix the Mariners offense. So barring those 3 teams, there's not a whole lot of other teams that are out of it. Obviously, the other big guys that have been mentioned throughout the entirety of this trade season have been Pete Alonso. The Mets might be in this thing. They're only a few games out of the wild card. Obviously, with like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette, the Toronto Blue Jays are currently 6.5 games out. They really do need to start losing some games here if the Mariners want to secure a chance to acquire like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. The Mariners and Angels just don't trade together because of the animosity between the Angels and Jerry Dipoto, so we can't talk about like Taylor Ward or anything here. There's nobody on the Athletics minus like Brent Rooker who they should really go after, and is he a game changer for this offense? I don't know. And like I said, for the Rockies and the Marlins, I mean, there's really not a ton of guys that make sense to trade for on those teams that are really difference makers for the Seattle Mariners in 2024. If you want to make a difference on this team offensively, you have to get the core guys going first, because if they start to go, this team is going to be so much better. Just a career norm for Julio Rodriguez is leagues and leagues above whatever you could add at the trade market, minus like Luis Robert and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Otherwise, just a career normal year for Julio Rodriguez is better than everyone else. The end. If Mitch Garver just figures it out and gets back to what he was even last year or the year prior, boom, you just added an amazing DH. Now, again, don't let me fool you into thinking that I'm saying the Mariners shouldn't trade for anyone, and the big additions are the friends we made along the way and the guys that figured it out at the end of the season. No. They need to go out there and make a trade. They need to add to this team now. And I think that is one of the few ways that this team is going to get better, is A, making a trade for a big bat, but also fixing the guys that are on this team. And like I said, they need to do it right now. I explained that in this video on the screen now. Thank you guys so much for watching this one, and go Mariners.